Hi, hello everybody. I'm Julien Dubois. I'm going to be your host for this presentation, and we are going to talk about JHipster. So let me just start the presentation. So this presentation is going to be quite short because we're going to have a lot of code. So first of all, let me introduce you JHipster, and then we will code for something like 40 minutes of code, live coding. So let me introduce you to JHipster. So JHipster is quite simply a Spring Boot and Angular.js application generator. It's coded by myself, so you can follow me on Twitter at Julien Dubois. And it's being coded also by a lot of other people. I'm calling them here my friends because we are nearly 100 people coding now. Everybody is working here for free. It's 100% open source. We don't have an enterprise version or anything. It's all work done by, let's say, people who are happy to be playing together with JHipster. So it is a very popular project today. Those are my statistics from last month, so February 2015. We've had more than 220,000 page views, more than 10,000 downloads, so that's quite a lot of people. We've got some very good GitHub statistics, 1,741 stars this morning, it's probably higher at the moment. And we've been having conferences all around the world, in the US, in Canada, in Taiwan, in France, of course, in Germany, in Spain. Please note that I'm, of course, doing the conferences in France, but for the other countries, it has been done by other people. And I have even never met any of those people. And well, if they're here, I'm thanking them, but I don't know those people. So it's really a work of a lot of people being together and working together. We've also had articles everywhere. So the most important ones were from InfoWorld or SD Times. And we've had a lot of feedback from successful projects because, well, you can imagine with so many downloads, I'm getting tons of emails from lots of people. So what does JHipster do in practice? So we do three things. It's quite simple. It's a code generation tool. So we generate a backend with Spring Boot. We generate a frontend with Angular.js. And the third thing, which is not trivial at the beginning, is that we configure a suite of tools. Let's see those 3 points in detail. So the Spring Boot backend, well, is done with Spring Boot. We're having Spring Security. We're having Spring Data GPA. Well, those are pretty common tools for Spring people. We have what we call polyglot persistence in the sense that we support at the same time GPA, MongoDB, and Cassandra. So you can choose between an SQL database or a NoSQL database. And of course, we also support, I would say, the usual Spring stuff like caching, clustering, monitoring. And we're going to see much of them during this demonstration. For the front end, that's supposed to be the hipster part of JHipster, by the way. The Java part was the Spring Boot, and the hipster part is the Angular.js front end. So we generate a single web page application. You are not forced to it. You can use Timely, for example, where you can do a different architecture, but by default, it's supposed to be a single web page application. We use HTML5 boilerplate and Twitter Bootstrap for managing our CSS. We are fully internationalized. It's quite a bit of work. We will see that in a moment. And we also support WebSockets with Spring WebSockets. So for the backend, the front end, I would say it's quite usual, but what is unusual is that we have both Spring Boot and Angular.js working together. And the third thing that we are doing is configure a suite of tools. So we are based on something called Yeoman that we will see very quickly during the presentation. And we are also configuring lots of other tools for building our backend. We've got Maven or Gradle. For our front end, we've got Grunt or Gulp.js. And we've got also Bower for handling our CSS and JavaScript libraries. Okay, I've done this was the main presentation. We're going to get coding now straight away. Let me introduce you to the sample application that we will do. We're going to do a banking application. Though it's not a real application, of course, it's mostly for showing what JHipster can do. So we've got 4 entities. So we've got, of course, users, well, customers of our bank. So we've got, of course, several accounts. One user can have several accounts. In one account, you can have several operations, and you can label your operations. Let me just show you what it does in the database. So I've got, let's say, several one-to-many relationships and one many-to-many relationship. So that's mostly done because I want to show you what we can do in terms of database schema with JHipster, how we upgrade it, how we manage many-to-many relationships, how we do pagination, how we do validation, all that kind of things. This is, of course, when you generate the application, a simple CRUD application. And what we are also going to do during this presentation is add some business logic. So we're going to limit what a user can do. He can only see his own bank account and his own banking operations, of course. We want to do some stuff on operations. We want to sort them, and display them correctly. You will see that when you will see what's being generated. Of course, the balance of your bank account should be updated. I'm doing this on purpose to do some transactions. So quite a bit of business logic to add to our application. And our goal here is to, well, first of all, generate the basic application, and we will have a look at what JHipster generates. Then we will generate all 4 CRUD entities, and we'll also have a look at what has been generated. Then we will change the business logic to add our business rules, and then we will deploy everything in production to Cloud Foundry. And well, my goal is to do that in less than 40 minutes, because of course we've got 1 hour for this whole webinar, and I want to have some time for the questions. Okay, I hope it's fine for everyone. I'm just having a look at the chat. No, okay. If that's fine for everyone, we're going to start coding. So, first thing I'm going to do is take my terminal. I'm going to create a new directory. I'm going to call my application banking, because it's a banking app. I'm going to go to that directory, and I'm going to call JHipster. So JHipster is using Yeoman, and so I've got the Yo command, which has been installed. If you have a look at Yeoman, it's quite easy to install. It's an npm package. So I'm calling JHipster, and now Yeoman is going to ask me a few questions about my application. So the first question is quite easy. It's what is the name of your application? So it's called banking, of course. What is your default package name? Well, that's quite easy. I'll call it current.banking. And then the hard questions are going to happen. So first of all, do you want to use Java 7 or Java 8? So if you use Java 8, you've got the latest Lambda expressions, you've got the optional class. It's going to be a lot more fun. So I'm going to use Java 8. Which type of authentication would you like to use? So we support 3 types of authentication. They all work with Spring Security. The first one is a very classical Spring Security authentication, which is stateful. And we've got also OAuth 2 support, and we've got a specific token-based authentication. Those 2 last authentication mechanisms are to be stateless, so we can scale more easily to the cloud. I'm going to stick with the default option because we are just doing a short introduction. Which type of database would you like to use? So now I can use either an SQL database, so like MySQL or PostgreSQL, or a NoSQL database like MongoDB or Cassandra. Of course, you can imagine that the generated application will be much different depending on my choices. And if you notice the questions we had before, here I'm now going to have Java 7 or Java 8 with SQL, Java 7 or Java 8 with MongoDB, and so on and so on. You can imagine that with the number of questions that we have, the end result will be very different from one user to the other, depending on his choices. So I'm going to use an SQL database. As I have selected an SQL database in production, I can use either MySQL or PostgreSQL. So we often have questions to have some other databases. Of course, it's very easy to add. We just have some trouble with proprietary databases because we don't have access to the drivers in Maven Central. So by default, we just have MySQL and PostgreSQL. I'm going to use PostgreSQL because I want to deploy PostgreSQL with Cloud Foundry in the end. As I've selected PostgreSQL in production, I can also use it in development, of course. And in development, I've got a second option, which is H2. So H2 is an in-memory database. It's easier to work with in development. For this presentation, I will use PostgreSQL because I want to show you what's happening to the database when I modify my application. So PostgreSQL. As I've selected an SQL database, we're going to use GPA and Hibernate. And Hibernate can use a second level cache. So by default, we are using one, which is EH cache. So it's a very good cache. Its only issue is that it's a local cache. So if we want to scale to the cloud, we should either not use any cache at all. So it's not very good for performance, but we're going to be scalable. Or use a distributed cache like Hazelcast, which is a very good distributed cache, but which is annoying to configure, of course, in the cloud. I'm going to stick with the default because here we are just doing a short presentation. I'm not going to scale. Same thing for this question, do you want to use cluster HTTP sessions? This is also working with Hazelcast, and I'm not using it for this small presentation. Do you want to use WebSockets? So we can use WebSockets with Spring WebSockets. This is going to add a few more screens for handling WebSockets, and of course, you will have WebSockets support everywhere. It's a nice option, but I'm not going to use it right now. Now for the build tools, so we're going to have several build tools which are automatically configured by JHipster. For the Java part, we can use either Maven or Gradle. So both of them work the same way, basically. I just recommend Maven because that's the one I'm using personally, so I know it's working better. But we've got a very good support from Gradle, so that's also a very good working option. So that's for the backend. For our frontend, we can use either Grunt or Gulp.js. So I'm going to stick with Grunt. Honestly, this time Grunt is working better because Yeoman by default supposes that you use Grunt. So it works better than Gulp.js, even if Gulp.js has got some other advantages, of course. Last but not least, do you want to use a Compass? So it's a CSS authoring framework. It's going to help you with your CSS code, but I'm not going to use this for the moment. So I've clicked Enter, and now JHipster is generating the whole application for me. This is going to take something like a couple of minutes. And in the meantime, I'm going to do some configuration. So we have selected PostgreSQL. As you can see here, I have PostgreSQL running. And I need to have, of course, a PostgreSQL database for my app. I've already got it here, but what I'm going to do is drop it just to show you I've got a clean and nice database. So I call it banking. I need to have a loading role. It's already there, so it's OK. So I've got a database ready, which is empty. Let's open it up. So I've got 0 tables. OK, and now I'm going to open up my IDE. So this works with Eclipse, IntelliJ IDE, NetBeans, or even text editor. Sometimes I'm coding with Atom. You can see it here. I'm going to open up IntelliJ, but really this is not mandatory. So banking is here. Let's open it up. And IntelliJ is going to take some time to analyze the project. It's already done. As it's a Maven project, IntelliJ is recognizing it straight away. You can see here the Maven plugin. Everything is configured for me. I've got some profiles, some Maven plugins. We're going to have a look at all of those. But first, let's have a look at the generated application. So here is my code. So you can recognize here my pom.xml from Maven. You can see here I've got a little .editor config settings. JHipster is pushing some good practices and some default configuration for everyone. So editor config is for having the same downside for everyone, the same car set. We're also having a good get-ignore file by default. So everything is being configured straight away by JHipster. My whole project is correctly configured from the beginning. Now let's have a look at the code. So this is a classical Maven file structure. So in the Backend app, I've got a source folder. In the source folder, I've got a main folder. And this main folder has got here a Java app and here a web app, which is going to have our Angular.js code. So first of all, let's have a look at the Java code. So this is the Spring Boot app. You can see it here from the application class. So the application class is a Spring Boot application class, which is ready to run our application. You can see here my main method. And we've got a few sub-packages. So we will have a look at the main ones. Here in config, we've got our Spring Boot configuration. So we are having the default Spring Boot configuration, but we are extending it in some parts. For example, we selected to have cache during our JHipster configuration. So we've got cache, which is configured here for us with cache, because that's what we have selected. We have drop wizard metrics for monitoring our application, so that's also configured for us. We have added quite a number of things to Spring Security. We've added some handlers to handle better Ajax calls, because we are working, of course, with Angular.js in the front end. And we have added some matches here for our API and so on. So this is all configured for you by default. And of course, as always with Spring Boot, we have an application.yaml file from Spring Boot where you have your Spring Boot configuration. We've got two Spring Boot profiles, by the way. We've got dev for development and prod for production. That's quite obvious, but that's better when you explain it. And those profiles are, of course, synchronized with my Maven profiles here. I've got a dev profile with Maven and a production profile with Maven. The fast profile is an advanced profile. It eliminates some libraries, so you will not have a full application running, but it's going to be a lot quicker. So it's like a trade-off. You want your application to go faster, but you're not going to have the full application working. So for development, to have a very quick turnaround, it's very interesting, but it's really quite an advanced user because you have to know what's not working. Okay, now let's have a look at the generated app. So we've got here some domain classes. That's quite usual with the Spring and Hibernate application. I will focus on my user domain class throughout this presentation. So this is one of the classes that are automatically generated for you at the beginning. As you can see, we don't have that many classes, because then we will have some other tools to add new entities. And so the user class is a GPA entity. You can see here the add entities, the add table. So if I had selected with JHipster, just go back here. If I had selected at the beginning to use Cassandra or MongoDB, of course I would have something else. I would not have added here a GPA entity. So as I have selected GPA, I've got an entity here, which is mapped on the table. We have selected to have a cache, so it is a net cache. We have a net cache annotation from GPA, and we've got a few default fields, which are, as you can see here, validated with bin validation. So it's quite a nicely done entity with many options, but still it's quite small. This is my domain class. On top of it, we've got the usual layers. I've got a repository layer, which is done with Spring Data GPA. So as we are, so this is a pivotal webinar. I imagine everyone knows Spring Data GPA quite well. So this is normal if it's quite small. We have just extended it to have here's optional keyword class. So this comes from Java 8. It's because I selected Java 8 when I did my generation. And it's going to be quite nice because on top of this repository, I have a service layer. And the service layer, thanks to that optional class, can use lambdas and on top of my entity. So this service layer is, of course, transactional, because that's a Spring service layer. It is optional. You can go straight away to the repositories if you want to, but you can use it if you want to have some transactions. And on top of this service layer, we've got a web layer, and of course, some Spring MVC REST endpoints on top of everything. So I'm following here the user entity. So the user entity here is has got a couple of endpoints, one to get all users and one to get a specific user according to his login. So you can see here, so this is a very classical Spring MVC REST endpoint, and it has got here some at-timed annotations, which might not be usual for everyone. Those comes from job wizard metrics, and they are used to monitor the application. So you can put them on all your Spring beans to monitor them, but by default, we put them all on the REST endpoints because we know that's probably what you want to monitor from the start. Okay, so that's my Spring Boot backend. On top of this, I've got here in the web app folder my Angular.js application. Most of it is here in the script folder. So it's a very, very modular Angular.js application. There are several ways of doing Angular.js. We have worked quite a lot on this. It has changed a lot between JHipster 1 and JHipster 2. We have talked with a lot of people and did a lot of work to have something very modular. And I hope that this focuses on a lot of best practices that we have found. And of course, Angular.js is still quite young, and it's a bit difficult for Spring users like myself to get started with it. But I'm very happy with JHipster 2 to have this new modular structure. So let's have a look at it. We've got two main folders. So the components are like my service layers. So we're going to continue focusing on the user. So you have seen here on Spring MVC REST, we were having a mapping on /API, /users, /login. Well, here I've got an Angular.js module, which is a service, which is mapped on /API, /users, /login. Of course, this Angular.js module is mapped on top of our Spring MVC REST endpoint. So we are using here Angular.js, so the $resource API. This is provided by Angular.js, and this API knows how to do REST request. We just override a couple of methods here because we have some specific configuration to do which are not by default with Angular.js. So in the component folder, I've got here all my services, and on top of it, here I've got my MVC frontend with Angular.js. Let's have a look at the login page. So I've got very usual. So I've got here my module, and that module I've got a controller and a view. Let's have a look at the controller. So it's a usual controller. As it is handling the login, it is of course having a look at the remember me, login, logout, and so on. It is here calling my service layer. The auth is here in my components, and it is forwarding to this HTML template. So it's a usual HTML template, but it is working with Angular.js. You can see here some ng show, some directives from Angular.js. And we are using Twitter Bootstrap as a CSS framework. You can see here, so here see some CSS from Twitter Bootstrap. We will see that a little bit later, but of course we are fully internationalized. So you can see here some translate here. So that's a derivative from something called Angular Translate, which is here to translate the user interface. Okay, so we've seen our Spring Boot backend, we've seen our frontend. I'm going to start the application. So there are two ways to start the application. The first one is to use Maven. I've got here the Spring Boot plugin, so I can just call Spring Boot run. And well, obviously it's going to run my application. Or something which I prefer to use is to use my application class from Spring Boot, which has a main method. So I can just right-click on it and run it. So you can say, hey, I can run it, I can debug it, which is something I really like to do. And if you go to Profiler, you can even profile it. I'm going to run it. And you might remember we created an empty database schema with pgadmin. The first thing that JHipster is going to do, you can say here, configuring Liquibase, this is going to update my database schema. You can see I've now got 8 tables. Just let's have a quick look at this. So we're using a tool called Liquibase. Liquibase is updating my database schema. So Liquibase works with some change logs. So there are various ways to work with them. Here we are having XML files to describe our schema. So JHipster generates those files for you. We're going to, well, first of all, we have a first schema here out of the box. Then when we are going to add some new dependencies, some new entities, JHipster automatically will create some new change logs. And then when you will want to do your own changes to the application, you can use the Liquibase plugin, which is automatically configured here. And this Liquibase plugin is able to automatically generate the change logs according to your changes in your code. So when you are going to, for example, to add a field to one of your entities, you just run Liquibase diff, and this is going to generate for you the change log. So this looks a little bit tricky, but in fact, it's quite easy to use if you have the right tooling, of course. So I've launched my application. Let's have a look. It took like 10 seconds to run, and it's available here. So let's have a look. So my application is here. It is, as you can see, a fully responsive application. And we've got some basic default screens which are already available for us. I'm going to work with them, but first of all, let me show you another tool which I love to use, and so I'm going to use it from the very beginning. Here, we are accessing our application through port 8080. That's quite usual when you use Tomcat. Well, that's not something I'm going to use. I'm going to start another tool here. So JHipster has automatically configured for me several tools. One of them is Grunt, and Grunt has several tasks. The one I'm going to use here is Grunt Serve. So Grunt Serve is going to launch a tool called Browser Sync. And Browser Sync, as you can see, connects here to port 3000. It's not 8080 anymore. And Browser Sync is able to sync my browser through different devices. So if I have, for example, an iPhone, I can have both screens synchronized at the same time. They will scroll at the same time. Input text will be working together, will be synchronized automatically. And what's also very good, we're going to see here, is that it updates automatically my front end. Let's have a quick look. So usually, of course, I work with 2 screens. So this is on another screen. Let's have a look with our CSS file, main.css. Here it is. As you can see, my background here is white. Let's change it to another color. Let's put it red. As you can see, it has automatically changed here. It has become red straight away. Let's put it back to normal. Okay, it's back to normal. So that's very handy when you work with Angular.js and CSS and so on, because everything is going to give you an immediate feedback. That's a very useful tool, and that's why I'm going to use it right now for this presentation. So let's have a look at the generated app. So we've got some default screen, an authentication screen. You can also register. You can, of course, log out and so on. Let's log in. Here we've got a menu. So the entities that are what we are going to create just afterwards. I've got an account menu to manage my account. So it's a basic screen for example, here changing my password. This screen is interesting for two things. Why do we generate those screens for everyone? We generate them for two reasons. The first one is that we believe like nearly everyone will want to have a screen for managing his password. And of course, if you don't like the screen, you can still delete it. But the second reason is that this gives you a nice example of validation. You see, we've got an Angular.js directive, something a little bit complex. So this gives you some indication on how to create complex screens with JHipster, because what we are going to create next are CRUD entities, and they are a little bit too easy. So here, those screens are really good examples for you to see how you can create more complex screens. Next to the account menu, we've got an administration menu, which a lot of people love. That's one of the main strengths of JHipster. Let's have a look at those screens. The first one is application screens, application metrics. So this is working with your wizard metrics. We have seen a little bit earlier, we have those timed annotations. Well, drop wizard here is monitoring a lot of things. It is monitoring our JVM, so we can see our memory, our threads. We can even have a look at them and even dump them to see what's blocking our threads, for example. Very good tool in production. We can see our HTTP request. We can see our Spring Beans metrics. So we are having metrics on every Spring Beans that is annotated, and those metrics can then be sent to Graphite or even to Spark. We have created our own Spark metrics plugin, so you can analyze, for example, what your users are doing in real time. As we've selected EH cache, we've got here our EH cache statistics. And as we are using a data source, we've got statistics on our data source. So this is for our application. Our application is, of course, accessing some external services. We've got some else checks here. So if you are used to Spring Boot, those are Spring Boot else checks. My database is working fine. My email server is not configured, so I can have a nice stack trace. Of course, if I had selected a Cassandra or MongoDB, we would have had some other else checks for Cassandra or MongoDB. Next to this, we've got here our Spring Boot configuration, which is available with this nice screen. Let's have a look at our GPA configuration. As you can see, we've got PostgreSQL. We've got a second level cache, which is configured. Here you have access to my audit logs. So this is working with Spring Data GPA, which has got an audit feature. It is linked to Spring Security, so we can have a look at who's doing something wrong on our application. We can handle also our logging. So we are working with Logback. And what is good with Logback is that you can configure it on the fly. So if I want to change the Spring Framework logging level, I can do it here and put it in error. So it's working in real time. This is very handy in production. If I want just to have this one interest level, very, very good in production. Last but not least, we've got the last screen with our API. So this is working with Swagger. Swagger is a tool that generates our API for us. We can have a look at the account, for example. Here I can see my account and test it. This is very useful for people doing Angular.js code and who don't know very well Spring MVC REST. Yes, they've got the whole documentation available. They can test it. And so they can work straight away from here, and they don't need to have a look at the Java code. Okay, and there's one last screen we didn't see. It's the language. So we can change languages here and putting it into French and back to English. By default, we only generate French and English, but we support 15 different languages. We've got Chinese, Spanish, lots of languages out of the box. You just need to add them. Okay, so we have seen our basic application, but we have not done any banking stuff yet. Let's code the rest of our application. I'm going to launch another terminal, banking. And I'm going to call JHipster again. So JHipster has what is called subgenerators, and we've got several of them. The most important one is the entity subgenerator. So I'm going to call it to generate my entities. So the first entity I want to use to have is the bank account entity, bank account. Our bank, I'm going to have the usual questions. So the first question is, do you want to have some fields? Yes, of course. My bank account has got a name, which is a string, and which is required. I've got some validation here. Second field I'm going to have is the balance of my bank account. So how much money do I have? And it is going to be a big decimal. I'm going also to add some validation here. So it's required. It has got a minimum size of 0. I must have some money on my bank account. This bank account, you can already see here my database table, which is in fact being created. My bank account has got some relationships. It's got a relationship to the user entity, and it's a many-to-one relationship. So one user has got several bank accounts. I'm going to use a login to do the link. And the bank account has got a relationship to the operation entity. So one bank account has got several operations. So it's a one-to-many relationship. And I don't want pagination on this entity. We're going to see that a little bit afterwards. We've got 3 pagination options. You have seen it, maybe quickly, this has automatically refreshed my browser, and the bank account is already here, available. So this is only the front end which has been updated. The backend is not updated yet. If I have a look here, I've still got 8 tables. I need to rerun Liquibase to have my new database schema. But for that, I'm first going to generate the whole application. So I created the bank account entity. Now creating the label entity. So the label entity has got just one field called label, which is a string, and which is required. And it is linked to the operation entity. If you remember my schema, it's a many-to-many relationship. And no pagination. And the operation entity, operation. Of course, if you don't type correctly, it's going to fail. So operation has got a date, which is of type date time, which is not validated. It has got a description type string, and it has got, of course, an amount, the amount of my bank operation of type big decimal. Yes, I want to add validation, it is required. And I want to have relationships to the bank account entity. It's a many-to-one relationship, many operations per bank account using the name. And I am linked also to the label entity. It's a many-to-many relationship, and I am the owner of this relationship, label. And I'm going to have pagination. I will do pagination links. Okay, I go back here. All 3 entities are ready. Let's have a look on what has been generated. I'm having here my entity, my GPA entity. I'm having here my Spring Data GPR repository. I've got here my Spring MVC West endpoint. I've got here my Liquibase changelog. Here I've got my Angular.js frontend. Here I've got some Spring integration tests which have been generated. I've also got some Gatling tests. So this is for doing performance testing with Gatling. And I have 2 internationalization files which have been generated for French and English. If I had other languages, I would have had more files, of course. I am going to run my application again. And what JHipster is going to do when the application is restarted, is going to update my database schema. So let's quickly have a look here. Oh, I've got now 12 tables. We have the label, the operation. It's a many-to-many relationship. So we've got here the operation label table. We've got the bank account. We've got everything is here. Let's go back to our application. Bank account is here. My cool bank account. And I've got some money. And it is linked to the admin user. Okay, so this is working. Cool. I can view it. I can edit it. I can, of course, delete it. All the CRUD operations are working. I can, of course, create some new operations. Let's create one. So I went to the restaurant and I spent 10 euros on my bank account. You can see there's a one-to-many relationship working. Let's also add some labels. So the label is like a restaurant, salary. And let's go back here to the operation. I'm going to tag it this restaurant. So this is working quite fine. You can see here's a pagination which is ready. Everything is good. If we go to the administration screens, what we have generated is automatically monitored. You can see here the bank account, Spring MVC endpoint, which is monitored. It is automatically cached. Here you can see the EH cache statistics. And it is automatically documented. Here with Swagger, we can see the operation. You can have a look at operations, for example, here. Great. So I've got my basic application working, but those are just CRUD entities. And we said we wanted to have something with some business logic. The most important one is security. If I log out, so I've got some default users with JHipster, user. Great, I'm with the other user. If I go here, oh, I see the bank account from the admin. And I'm saying it's operation. So that's not really good. What has happened here is that JHipster is just generating a basic CRUD application, and it doesn't know your business logic. What's good with JHipster is that we've got lots of tools to help you with this business logic. So first of all, we're going to have a look at the bank account. Let's see how we can secure it. If I go to my bank account, Spring MVC endpoint, you can see that when you ask bank accounts, you're getting all the bank accounts. So there's no logic here. It's just a CRUD API. As we have linked our bank account to the user, and that the user is a specific entity in JHipster, well, we in fact knew that we probably want to have the bank account only for the current user. So we have generated for you this little method. I'm going to refresh to show you that it's going to work. And let's just have a look at what this method does. So the bank account repository is a Spring Data GPA repository. We have generated this method for you. And we have here some spill, so some Spring expression language inside Spring Data GPA. And we have linked Spring Security, in Spring expression language with Spring Data. So this is not working by default with the Spring Data, so that's a small configuration that we added. And we find it's very useful to have access to spill inside Spring Data GPA. Let's have a look now. I should not see it anymore. And I'm not seeing it anymore. Of course, if I log out and come back as the admin, I'm going to see it again. So that's good. Second thing, my operations. Let me create another one to have a little more things to show. So I've got my salary. So it was some amount of money. Good. So what is being wrong here? There are several things. First of all, here, that's not really pretty. Then you see my date is not correctly displayed. Then my salary, I got it before going to the restaurant, so it's not ordered correctly. And last but not least, as you have seen, every user can see my banking operations. So this is quite wrong, and I'm going to solve all this quite quickly. First of all, this is not really beautiful. I'm just going to make it better. It's very easy because we are with Angular.js. Let's have fun with Angular.js. So it's operations.html, and the date is being displayed here. So let me just add a date format. I'm going to put the year, month, day, day, hour, and minute. And up straight away, it's updated. I've got a much better looking date, which shows us even more than we are not correctly ordered. In order to solve this, we're going to use Spring Data again. Let's have a look at our banking, at our operation resource. So the operation resource, like for the bank account, it has got here a getAll method, and the getAll method is paginated because we have selected to have pagination. It's a bit complex, but if we just have a look here, that's in fact standard Spring Data GPA methods. So we're going to make it a little bit better. What do we want, in fact? With Spring Data GPA, you just type the correct method name, and then it's going to automatically generate the correct GPA request. So I want to have my data, so by bank account. The operation is linked to the bank account. The bank account is linked to the user, and the user has got a login. And I would like, of course, this login. I'm going to put this in parameter A to be my current login. So security. So JHipster also gives you some utility details, which is going to give you the current login here. So I got the current login. I'm going to have my bank account linked to the current user login. That's good. And I want to order it by date. You probably remember the operation has got a date. So order by date, and I want it to be ascendant. That's quite a complex method. Let's auto-generate it. Okay. And let's restart our app to see what's happening. In the meantime, is everybody just look at the chat? Yeah, everybody. Okay. My application has rebooted. Let's refresh here. Okay, so now it's correctly ordered. Salary first, restaurant then. And of course, if I log out and come back as a user, I'm not going to see any operation from the admin. That's good. Let's log in again, admin. We've got last one thing to code. You remember our operation, so we are having money here. And that money should change my bank account balance, and in fact it does not. Those are two different CRUD entities, and in fact I would like here to have a correct transaction between them. Let's kick off JHipster again. I've got another subgenerator called service. This is going to create a Spring service. I'm going to call it balance. And I'm not going to use an interface for that. I don't know for you, but I don't like to use interfaces. Close all. Operation resource. So when we create a new operation. Of course, you will have to do the same thing for when you update and when you delete. But I'm going to do it easily. Let's inject using TDI here, by the way. Private balance service. And I'm going to say balance service. When you add an operation to it, we're going to do a transaction. As you can see, the balance service has been generated by JHipster, so that's what I created here. By default, it is transactional. It's good. But I could also monitor it and add an at-timed annotation or secure it with an at-secured annotation from Spring Security. But here I just want to do my transaction. So first of all, I'm going to inject private operation repository. I'm going to save my operation. First thing I'm going to do is, of course, save it. Let's not lose it. That wouldn't be a good idea. Saving it, and now I want to apply this operation to my bank account. Let's inject the bank account repository. So first thing I'm doing is grab my bank account. Equal bank account repository get one. So its ID is linked to the operation bank account dot get ID. So here I got my bank account. Let me go a little more room. And so the bank account, I'm going to change its balance. Its balance is going to be the previous balance. So bank account dot get balance. Add my operation amount. Okay, this should work. We are in a static transaction, so it's going to be saved automatically. Let's restart. So each time I restart, it's taking something like 10 seconds. That's why I've got here the fast profile. This is what I'm using myself, and it takes something like 5 or 6 seconds, but you will not have access to Swagger, for example. Okay, it's restarted. So I've got 100 euros. Let's go to the restaurant again and see what happens. Restaurant. Oh. Again. So I'm typing too quickly. So minus. Sorry, I put validation on this. No, minus 10 euros on my bank account for restaurant. Let's have a look. I should have only 80 euros left. Yes, it's working. So we have seen here a transaction. We have seen here how to work with entities and update them. That's good. I've got my whole application working. What I would like to do, of course, now is put it into production. And for this, I will good friends from Pivotal. I've got something really nice called Cloud Foundry. I've got 5 minutes left to deploy to Cloud Foundry. I've got a demo space. As you can see, I have no applications and no services ready. And I'm going to start a new JHipster subgenerator called Cloud Foundry. So JHipster Cloud Foundry is going to ask me a few questions. What is the name of my app? I need something quite unique, so my curl bank. I'm going to deploy in production. I'm going to explain you what it is. And I'm going to use PostgreSQL. That's why I chose PostgreSQL at the beginning. Let me explain a little bit what has happened here. So I'm starting, I am deploying on Cloud Foundry, so I use the Cloud Foundry subgenerator. JHipster also works with Heroku and OpenShift, but honestly, I'm not saying that it's just because Cloud Foundry, well, Pivotal is the hosting, but Cloud Foundry is much, much better. Just have a look at my code. Cloud Foundry just works a lot better than the others. So we are deploying to Cloud Foundry. You can work with other Cloud Foundry instances. My own company is having its own Cloud Foundry instance. It also works with IBM, Bluemix, and so on. So you are not tied to Pivotal Web Services. of course. That's one of the main advantages of Cloud Foundry. And I have selected to run my application in production mode. Why is it? Let's just have a quick look here with the audit feature from Chrome. As you can see here, my application is not at all performant. Why is this? Because I've got lots of little files everywhere. This was on purpose. If we have a look here, we've got lots of little files for Angular.js controllers, routers, HTML templates, and so on. That's excellent for developing, for working with as a team, for having a browser sync, updating everything. That's perfect. But for production, that's not very good. So what JHipster does is that it runs a specific Grunt task, which is magnifying everything. And if we have a look, so this is my development index file. You see, it is importing lots of CSS, JavaScript, HTML files. Well, it's good for development, but it's really not good for production. And here, what has been generated with my production profile. I've got another index.html file, and you can see it's all concatenated, all magnified. And it's only importing a few scripts which have here a hash in front of them. That's because we want to be able to cache them very efficiently. So what JHipster is doing here is that it's magnifying everything, concatenating everything, putting the correct HTTP headers. It is also going to JZip everything in order to have a very, very efficient application in production. Now, let's have a look. The application is starting. Let's refresh here. And if I click here, my application is working. So let's log in. Admin. As you can see, I'm already in the cloud. I am not in production anymore. I don't have the development banner here like I had here. As you are, as it is on the internet, you can also try. You just go to mycoolbank.cfapps.io and it's going to work. You can play with it. Just be nice and don't change the default password because otherwise other people will not be able to log in. But if you want to play with it, well, just go. I can see here if there are other sessions. We can see people joining, and we can have a look at the metrics and everything. And by the way, this is hosted with the free plan of Pivotal Web Services. So this is all free. It's just working with 1 GB of memory. And here I'm using Elephant SQL, which is a free with a free plan. So it's we've only got 20 megabytes of database, but it's enough for what we are doing. This final app, we just have 1 minute left, so I won't do it. But you can also test it with our performance test, which have been automatically generated here with Gatling. And it easily handles like 500 concurrent users. So it's working pretty well, despite the fact that we have transactions, security, really quite a lot of complex stuff. Okay, just going to say yes. Some of you have joined. We can have fun and validate each other's sessions now. Okay, I hope you have enjoyed it. I am ready to take some questions if some of you have some questions.
Excellent. Thanks, Julien.
Thank you, Peter.
Great. Nice job. Yes, there's a couple questions. Let's see. Guido asks, can we also build a web service application with JHipster?
Oh, so the web services are only REST endpoints. For one of my main customers, in fact, I'm doing CXF, so I've got some real SOAP web services on top of it. So we just added here some real web services with CXF. And CXF is working quite good. It's an Apache project. It's working very well. We handle like I don't remember exactly. We've got tens of thousands of users simultaneously. We've got CXF in the front end and Cassandra in the back end, and it's a JHipster application. So it works quite well, but by default, it's a REST application. So, and of course, as a hipster, I can only encourage people to do REST endpoints and not XML web services.
Definitely, yeah, agreed. I think I don't know if you can call yourself a hipster if you use SOAP. I think it's, I think you're right there. Let's see. So next question is Oiku, I hope I'm pronouncing his name correctly, asks, is it possible to use other cache implementations?
Oh, yeah. So by default, we support EHCache and Hazelcast, which are, of course, really good in open source. I intend to support Gemfire as soon as it is released in open source. I guess, Peter, you know better than I do when it will be released. Otherwise, we don't have a very strong link to EHCache. It's being, let's have a look here. It's being configured here, but it's quite simple, in fact. And indeed, most of the configuration is that because we want to add a metrics statistics on top of it. So it's quite easy to change it.
Awesome. Yeah, definitely. We're in the process of open sourcing Gemfire to the Apache Software Foundation, to the ASF. I don't actually have the specifics on the timeline, but it's something we're. I know we're very focused on it, so I don't anticipate it will take a huge amount of time. However, what Gemfire does, I think, is quite a bit. It's like a much more advanced in-memory data grid than something like Memcache, or some of the other sort of open source that's out there available today. So that may mean it takes longer to take decisions, right, on what pieces to open source and what pieces to use for commercial features and things like that. So hopefully update soon. If you want to keep close to that, you can follow Pivotal on Twitter, and I'm sure that you'll see some announcements when that happens. Raphael Roman asks, can you repeat the name of the tool? He asked that at right about 7:30, so it was about halfway through your presentation. I don't know if that's enough context for you to understand what exactly he's asking him for. Raphael, if you're still on the webinar and you're hearing me right now, please feel free to put in a clarifier into the Q&A window, unless Julien just magically somehow knows what you're talking about.
Not sure. Maybe Gatling, because maybe it's the less known tool I was using. That's for performance testing. I'm not sure if it's this tool.
Interesting. Okay.
It's quite good for doing performance testing. It's also done by some French guy. I don't know them personally, but it's fun to have some other French people doing also open source.
Excellent.
We are everywhere.
Excellent. Well, and now even more at the Apache Foundation, right? I think Groovy language is going to Apache Foundation. So vive la France. Let's see. Halil asks, is the metrics are metrics application server dependent?
No. Metrics is it's just a library. So it works inside your web app. So it works with any web server. So no, we are not application server dependent.
Excellent. Good answer for the Spring audience, I think. Let's see. Naresh Reddy asks, can we change the configuration through a graphical user interface?
So no, you can't. Well, depends on what you call the configuration, but if I go here, in my application YAML file, so this is a Spring Boot YAML file. So there are some IDEs that allows to, automatically configure this. Mine does not do it, but I know the next version of IntelliJ is doing it. I know that Spring Source Tool Suite is doing it. So it's, you can do it with your IDE here. Then it's only blocked, and then when you deploy, then you can't change your data source class name, for example, at runtime. So.
Is all the configuration in a YAML file?
Yes. Well, it's the whole Spring Boot configuration. So that's Spring Boot that is doing everything here. And we have added, this is Spring Boot because we've got the Spring prefix.
Right.
And I've added some prefix for metrics and for cache, for example. So we've got a little more configuration than by default. You can see we like Graphic and Spark, but
sure.
it's just Spring. So there are lots of configuration to do here because Spring Boot is just huge.
Okay, so basically then, as IDEs and YAML editors, become available, then yes, there would be a graphical user interface. But right now, it seems like it's a little more text-based, so that's fine. Yeah. Alexis asks, how do you update an entity?
Oh, that's a very, very, very good question. So I've got several answers. The easy answer is just I go here, I've got an operation, and I'm going to add a new field to that string Alexis. I'm going to generate my getters and setters, and basically I have just changed my entity while in my code, and if I just run Liquibase diff here, it's even going to generate my Liquibase changelog. So that's all there is to do. My changelog is appearing magically here. I've got my new changelog with Alexis here. So this updates my database. Everything is just going to work. Then, of course, this only works while I am working outside of JHipster. And another question would be, I want to update my entity using JHipster. So this is quite complicated. You can either run JHipster again and erase stuff. Let's just show how it works. JHipster entity. So this was operation. So I have changed. I have added here Alexis. Let's have a look at what happens because I've added a change. Let's do a diff. So here, this is Yeoman, which is telling me, oh, this has changed. What do you want to do? Do you want to erase it, to use it or not? Personally, what I always do here is that I overwrite everything, and I'm using Git, because with Git, I've got some much better tooling, as far as I'm concerned, than what Yeoman provides. But you have here, a couple of choices, and as you can see, it's of course manual, because we have no idea of, you added that field, while JHipster has no idea why you added it. Is it, do you want to keep it or not? So we leave it up to the user. But as you can see, it's quite easy. And as the operation follows, the spring-dated GPA and so on, is going to be automatically available on the REST endpoints. So if I just restart here, my app, I will automatically have access to the Alexis attributes of the operation entity. We'll just have a look. My database is being updated. Operation here, let's update. Not updated yet. What does that mean? I didn't put it in operation. Sorry, it's my fault. I didn't add it here. So by default, when you add an entity manually, JHipster includes the changelog to be run next time, but it does not work if you do the changelog manually like I did, because when it's manual, we have a dupe of what you wanted to do, so we'll let you do it yourself. I'm just copy pasting this. Copy reference should work. Oh. Okay, let's run it again. And this time it's going to be applied. Of course, when you do this, JHipster generates for you a complete Spring test with a Spring test complete framework. So if you are modifying your entities, you have to check that your tests are still working, because probably I'm going to break my test here. Here are the operation test. Let's have a look. So refresh. So Alexis here, and if I go here to the operation here, and well, I'm just going to force it to be an operation here. So my operation here should have Alexei, but it's null for the moment, of course. That's quite easy to use when you know all the tools, in fact. Is that a good answer for you?
Yeah, definitely. Thanks. That was pretty in depth. Yeah, definitely. So we're about just a few minutes over time, and there's still a lot of people on the phone. So I think I'm going to continue with the questions, if that's okay with you, Julien. Yeah?
Yeah, yes, of course.
Okay, very good. Let's see. Actually, gosh, we have a lot of questions. Wow. Okay. Folks, we may not be able to get to all of them today. So what I'll say very quickly is that you can also join, if you don't get your question answered, you can join again towards the end of the next session. Also, you can tweet Julien your question directly. Would be another way. You can tweet to JHipster. You can. Yes, I didn't say it, but we've got, of course, a Twitter account. We've got a GitHub page. We've got lots of documentation here on JHipster.io. So. While we're doing the questions, Julien, just why don't you foreground the page that has all the sort of follow-up information on it on your presentation slides? Yeah. Of course. If I find my slides again. Yeah. Sorry about that's right. Okay. Yeah. Perfect. Hey, you got it right on the first try. Excellent. Okay. So let's see. So next question is okay. That guy already got a question in actually. So let's just try to keep the answers a bit shorter so we can get through more of them. Okay. Let's see. Naresh asks, usually search is a common operation from GUIs. Why not include them? Oh, yeah, no, it's just because we didn't do it. But, of course, we should include something like Elasticsearch. Sure. Very good. Okay, next question is from Akis. What are the steps to add a new column to an existing table? Well, that's basically what we did here. I think we just did that, right? The main issue is to have the Liquibase changelog. And as you have seen, we've got, the best tool for me is Liquibase diff. So this is a Maven plugin. And it just generates the changelog. Well, then, of course, you can do it yourself. It's an XML file. It's not that hard to write because it's auto-completed by the XML schema. So if you need to do it manually, you can, but of course. Got it. Okay. All right. Cool. Yeah. Totally. At least it auto-completes. That's kind of nice. Then you don't have to look up the schema documentation. Pedro Lopez asks, is it possible to authenticate with Facebook or Google? Oh, no. Well, so we currently support OAuth2, and we have a huge thread on GitHub on people who wanted to make it work with Facebook. And I recently closed it because it was, I don't remember how many people have worked on this. So some people had it nearly working, and I would love to have it working. Dare I suggest 44. And dare I suggest a Spring Social integration? Yeah, exactly. That's what they did. And they did huge work, but it was not final, and it was not possible to merge it. And that's, you see here, I've got it with Facebook. Yep. So I love to have this, but it's some more work to do, of course. Well, maybe this is open source, by the way. Maybe someone from the community would be interested in collaborating with you on this, right? Oh yes, I would most likely like this. And the code from these people are open source. Just put it somewhere on GitHub. So it's By the way, if I just go here, we've got 99 contributors. So I'd be very happy to have the number 100. Just to round things up. The 100th contributor gets French fries. Yeah, I was going to say a free license to JHipster, but it's already free. So. And I was just kidding about the French fries. Yeah. Let's see. Rafael asks if it has a forgot password feature built in. Not yet. Let me remember. This is something which is being coded at the moment by someone. I don't remember who is working on this, but it's okay. I think just a yes or no will suffice. Yes, for now. Well, it's not for the moment. Yeah. Naresh Reddy asks, both front-end and back-end code is coupled. can we generate it separately?
No. Well, you can't. Then I've seen many people who have just, you just copy paste. The web app, you take the script folder, and you've got all the Angular.js. So it's very easy to just split it in half. It's not really coupled. If you want two different projects, it's very easy. Yeah. Hello?
Excellent. Sorry. Yes. Joao Luz asks, do you support other SQL databases like Oracle, SQL Server? This is a question we often have. We don't support them officially because, my biggest problem is that we don't have the licenses. I don't have an Oracle licensing. I don't have the Oracle JDBC driver. You have to pay to have them. But unofficially, it's very, very easy to use. And in my company, we have many people using it because it's just a matter of reconfiguring Hibernate. So it's just a matter of modifying, I would say just the YAML configuration and adding the driver in Maven. So are you using? I'm just out of idle curiosity, Julien. Are you using Spring Data repositories to get this feature, or are you doing it in your own method?
This works with Spring Data. So Hibernate and Spring Data, they just work with all databases, and that's also the good thing with Liquibase. The changelog with Liquibase are cross database. So Liquibase generates the correct thing. So we have nothing which really links us to a database. We just don't do it because they are commercial and we don't have the licenses, but that's all.
Right.
But if somebody wants to pay me a license, it's most welcome.
Well, yeah. If you ever get around to it, just remember, of course, that MySQL is fairly Oracle compatible, and that is free, of course. So, just a thought. But anyway, Guido, I'm not going to Montalbetti asks. He's wondering where he can find JUnit tests.
Oh. Yeah, so the JUnit tests are in the usual test Java directory. So those are, most of the generated tests are, let's take this one. It's working with Spring Test context. They are quite complex because we are also having the database and so on. But you can also do some very basic JUnit tests. This one is one, I guess, yes. So you've got some simple JUnit tests if you want to. And this just runs if you do a Maven run, it's going to run, or just right-click here. And then it is going to work. Yeah. Oh, my tests are working. So, nothing too fancy here.
Okay. Let's see. A couple more questions. Wow. Geez. Man, they're just coming in like a machine gun, like a Gatling gun here. Let's see. Okay. Oiku, you already got to ask a question. Let's see. Jeremy asks, hello, the API panel is not working in the deployed app. Okay. Sorry, Jeremy. You can ask that on Stack Overflow or on Twitter. He says, hold on. Sorry. This is coming in so fast. I can't differentiate here. Hold on 1 second. All right, I'm going to skip that. I'm going to skip that for now. Naresh asks if user authentication through LDAP is possible.
We have not coded it, but we are based on Spring security, so it's probably very easy to add. So yes, it's possible. It's not out of the box, but it's easily possible.
Got it. Yeah, Spring Security certainly supports LDAP, and people may or may not know that there actually is a Spring LDAP project for manipulating LDAP data. But anyway, that's kind of a lesser known fact. So let's see. And then Naresh was curious if you have that in the roadmap specifically about the LDAP support.
No, not really, because I think it's very easy to do. So
okay.
Probably not.
Fair enough. Okay. Oiku asks, does JHipster also generate tests for the Angular part as well as the JUnit tests?
Very good question. Yes. I didn't present everything. So in the test folder, so we've got getting for performance test, we've got JUnit test and JavaScript test. So those are working with Karma.js. And so we've got some default tests available here. If you just run, so I'm just going to run it here. So if you just run Grunt test, it's going to run all the Karma.js tests with Phantom.js. Phantom.js is an embedded browser. So here it is, and here they are working by default. 22 tests, pretty quick, by the way.
Awesome. Excellent. Oh my gosh, wow, you just ran them all. Wow.
Yeah.
Hey, way
that's
to go.
Very, very fast. That's very, very fast.
I looked down to get a bite of my breakfast, and you finished running all the tests. Wow.
Yeah,
okay.
I'm not going to do a Maven test. Maven test, you can take a breakfast, but Grunt test is different.
Excellent. Oh, that's funny. Okay. Let's see. Fabian's question, I think we answered this already. He's curious about separating the front end and back end code generation. I think we addressed that already.
Yes.
Mark Collins asks the $1 million question, Julien. Where can we go for more support?
Oh, $1 million, yeah. Well, first of all, we do support, of course, on Stack Overflow, GitHub. There are a lot of, I would say, nice people to help you. And honestly, this is the first time I say this. You have professional support from my company. It wasn't on purpose, so thank you to whoever asked. But honestly, if people ask me, I'm doing it myself. And we've got a subsidiary in the US with some really good people. So if people want support or, I don't know, training, we can, of course, do it. But it's not, honestly, it is not a real business yet because we mostly do this for ourselves. We have I don't know, 5 or 10 projects, so we do it for ourselves first.
You can thank Mark. You can thank Mark Collins for the $1 million question, and send him a free license or some French fries.
Yeah.
Zoltan asks any plans to support Flyway?
Oh, yeah, that's a question I often have because it's a competitor to Liquibase. No, because we already have Liquibase, first of all. And secondly, I don't think, but I might be wrong, I don't think that Flyway has got this nice diff feature from Liquibase that generates the changelog. And this is something I really like, so I will not lose this. But maybe I'm wrong with Flyway. Maybe I'm wrong.
Okay. I'm curious to hear the answer to this question myself. Zoltan asks, why did you switch from Atmosphere to using Spring WebSockets?
Oh.
Maybe that's because Spring WebSocket actually works. Oh, snap. Sorry.
Oh, that's not really nice. That's not what Jean-François Arcan told me. He told me Spring Boot,
I'm joking.
No, I'm also joking. No, firstly, we were using Atmosphere, well, mostly because I'm friend with Jean-François. That's a French mafia. But more seriously, I had indeed some trouble with Atmosphere, and as I'm quite alone coding everything, I tested Spring WebSocket, and indeed it was working a lot more quicker. So I switched to Spring WebSocket. I intend to have Atmosphere back some time around because my code is still here, but it's clearly a lot more work to make Spring Boot work with Atmosphere than with Spring WebSocket. So I'm not going to say which one is buggy, but of course it's always easier if you take everything from the same stack. That's normal. So. Yep.
And Spring Boot has certainly opened doors for contribution. So if you've got a heavy investment in Atmosphere, you could probably contribute it to Spring Boot anyway. So.
And my code is still there and used to work. So it's probably something very, very, very small to do, but I just couldn't find it. So I went for the easy option.
Okay, wow. I think we have literally 3 more questions or 4 more questions. So I think we've almost made it through. Oh my gosh, I can't believe it. Let's see. Is user authentication from multiple data sources possible?
Oh, I have not done anything for this. Well, it's a Spring security configuration, so that's probably possible. It's not out of the box, but that's possible. Yes, possible.
Okay. Let's see. Oh, and here's your favorite question, Julien. I figured you said someone would ask it, and you're right. Jens asks, do you have any best practices for upgrading to new versions of JHipster? Let's say I would like pagination 2.6 feature for my 2.5 generated app.
Yeah, so that's annoying, indeed. So first of all, updating JHipster is very easy because it's done with npm. I'll let you check, but it's just one command with npm to update the generator. Then, if I go here and I want to regenerate, let's say, the label entity, is to change. So your JHipster entity label. if I run it, it's not asking me the questions again. It's because we've got a little configuration file here. So if you run your configuration again, it's going to regenerate your entity with a new version. So if you have modified your entity, of course, you've got some stuff to merge. So you will have some merging to do. But that should be fairly easy. Then if you want something more advanced, like you didn't have pagination, and you want to change the pagination version, as you can see, the configuration file is quite easy to read, because basically we are just storing the answers you did on the during the questions. We just serialize the answers, so it's quite easy if you want to modify it yourself. Some people do it manually here. Some people just rerun it. So it's doable. I'm not saying it's very easy, but it's doable, and then you might have some merging to do. But
right, got it. All right. Last two questions, and I think we're going to wrap it up. Amazingly, I think only 10 people have dropped off during the entire Q&A section. So clearly, the question and answer is of interest to everyone. Almost everyone. Which is, usually people start to leave during the Q&A, but it seems like almost everyone's staying to hear what you have to say, Julien. Nice job.
Well, thanks everyone.
Last two questions, and then we're going to close it out. Joao asks if you can change the app menu.
Oh, the app, yeah. So I guess it's talking about this menu, and this menu. This is a Twitter Bootstrap menu. So of course it's fully you can change everything in it. It's just a basic Twitter Bootstrap menu. Let me just open it up. Navbar. So it's a Twitter Bootstrap menu. So you can do Navbar, and that's Twitter Bootstrap. So you can do anything you want with it.
All right.
Very classical.
I'm going to answer the next question about Joao asked about comparing JHipster to Spring Roo, and then Matthew Cosgrove, sorry about that. I'm going to have to call it here because we're almost at 8:30. We got to wrap it up. So you can tweet your how do you deal with CSRF question to Julien directly. But last question is how to compare JHipster with Spring Roo. And Spring Roo, doesn't really help you with Angular at all or Timeleaf as far as I'm aware, and its focus is very different. It certainly does code generation as well, but I think this is more about generating sort of Spring apps in the large, maybe with a bit more of a backend focus, where it seems like JHipster is a little bit more on the front. But anyway, Julien, feel free to respond to that yourself. I don't know how familiar you are with Spring Roo.
No, I'm not very familiar with it, so I'm.
Okay. I am, to tell you the God's honest truth, I'm not that familiar with it either. So pretty high level question there. The project is being maintained still from some committers from Spain, Dizid Corporation, and they are continuing to maintain it to a degree. But boot is really the sort of new direction for the entire Spring team that everyone's focused on. They just kind of maintain Roo for existing users, and they are adding new features occasionally, but really it seems that the preferred method these days is boot for these sort of things. Okay. So with that said, just want to say yes, of course, this is being recorded. We'll be posting the recording to spring.io/video and spring.io/blog within the next 2 weeks. Often we get to it much faster than that. I'm putting the URLs here in the window in response to Matthew's question. Sorry about that, Matthew. And then please come back if you want notification when it's posted. You can just subscribe to the Atom feed on our blog. I think that's the best way, because then you get all the great information from our engineering team, from the Spring team, and all the technical blogs, all the Spring 1 replays, all the good stuff that we post to the blog, and then of course you'll get a notice when the replay is available. Also, please come back on Tuesday, April 21st. We're going to be doing a webinar on smarter service-to-service invocations with Spring Cloud. If you're interested in microservices or using Netflix open source like Hystrix or Eureka, Zool, stuff like that, you should really check out Spring Cloud. We've delivered quite a lot of functionality wrapping Netflix open source and adding significant value in a number of areas. Automatic bindings for Cloud Foundry, for Amazon Web Services, all kinds of great stuff. And that is going to be with Josh Long. Again, that's on Tuesday, April 21st. And I'm just going to pop the registration URL for that into the window in case you're interested. And then on, let's see. Oh, shoot, I forgot the dates. Let's just check again really quickly. Yes, on April 28th, we'll be having a more big data focused webinar. We're going to be talking about Spring XD and Kafka. So if you're interested in big data, that's definitely one you don't want to miss. Hold on one second, and I'll put the registration URL for that. So this is about reactive data pipelines using Kafka and Spring XD. Again, if you're a Hadoop enthusiast or a big data enthusiast, highly recommend you check out Spring XD and specifically around Kafka if you're interested in that. Let's see. Okay. I think also we do have some upcoming webinars this week, but we've talked about those, this month, but we've talked about those pretty recently. But just in case you missed them, we are going to be doing a redo of Dave Seyer's really popular blog post where basically he takes an Angular.js front end, uses Spring Security, and then uses Spring Cloud as a lightweight API gateway in between the JavaScript front end and the Spring backend. It really seems to address a whole bunch of concerns. It's been wildly popular on DZone and on the Spring blog. We've made that a webinar. Scott Deeg from our field is going to be talking about basically doing the same thing except with a Polymer application on the front end. So he's going to be swapping out Angular and replacing that with Polymer. And that is just in a few days. Hold on one second, and I'll get you the dates here. Bear with me for one moment, folks, and I'll pop in the registration URL for that. Because I think for all of you Angular folks, I think this will definitely be of interest too, just to check out what's going on in Polymer and see this API gateway pattern. I think that's going to be kind of interesting. That's on Tuesday, March 24th. So next Tuesday, for more of you Angular and front-end JavaScript fans. So pretty exciting webinar lineup for the next month or two. And I think that's pretty much it. I just want to say that just in general, if you're looking for bits from the Spring team, just remember that we don't really enable HTTP downloads very easily because you really should be using Maven or Gradle. It's just a much better experience. If you're just one of those poor people that's stuck on a military network or a closed network, or you're behind 20 layers of proxy servers, you can get HTTP binaries for Spring projects directly from repo.spring.io. Again, I'll pop the URL for that in there as well. And that's it. Thanks for listening. Thanks for staying. Still a large number of people on the phone. Julien, great job, and a lot of interest in this technology. Keep up the good work, and make sure people know how to contribute and get involved with you to make JHipster even better.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right. Have a great day, everyone. Take care. See you in the next webinar.